welcome back to another video. My name is Jill and today I'm going to be getting into all the books that I completed in July. So let's get started. So July overall was a wonderful reading month. It had the Booktubeathon in it, so I got a bunch of reading done because of that. And it was just generally summer, so I had a bunch of time to get things done. It's probably not as much as I expected myself to read, but it was still a good amount of books. I ended up reading 11 total books, which is pretty good, and I'm actually almost done with a 12th one. But yeah, I'm just going to get into what I read in July. So yeah. So I will just start off with what I'm currently reading, and that is, of course, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I'm loving it. I am trying to take my time with this because I know I'm going to be really sad when it's over, so I'm slowly reading it. I didn't read it in one sitting like I know lots of people do, but I'm about two-thirds of the way done, and I really love it so far, but I'm not going to talk about that right now because all my feelings, this book has all the feels. Oh my gosh. Starting off with the first book that I read. This book I actually ended up finishing in June, but I already filmed my wrap-up, so I didn't get to mention it in my June wrap-up, but that is Three Truths and a Lie by Brent Hartinger, and this book was fantastic. I got it as an ARC. It comes out August 2nd, which is tomorrow when I'm filming this. I'm not sure when this is going to go up, but I love this book. It's basically a psychological thriller, and it follows 4 different teenagers and they go camping in the woods, and it's like a horror mystery kind of thing. It sounds generic, but the ending was the biggest WTF moment I think I've ever had. I'm normally not a huge fan of horror or like this kind of stuff, but this was really good. I was reading it at night and I got really creeped out and had to put it down, and it was just so action-packed, and I finished it like so quickly, and it just goes by really fast, so I would highly recommend this book. Like I said, it's really simple, like it's short, it's nothing like hugely spectacular writing-wise or anything, but it was just so enjoyable, and like I said, I don't really like reading horror books like this, but I really love this one, so that's saying something. The next book I read was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the 7th and final book in the Harry Potter series. And I actually forgot that I read this book this month. So if you haven't already heard the story yet, when I first read Harry Potter, like back in the 4th grade, I only read 1 through 5, and I still had to read 6 and 7, and I really wanted to do that before Cursed Child came out, and I did it, and I'm so happy. This is now my favorite book of the series. I don't really have thoughts on how to say it. Like I said, I watched the movies of this book, so I knew what happened, but this book was just, it moved me to tears, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen. It's just so fantastic. It's Harry Potter. If you haven't read Harry Potter, I don't know what to tell you. It is so good. Favorite book of the series. Loved it. Everything was perfect. I loved every single second of it. I love Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Their goals. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And next up, I actually finished an audiobook, and that was Talon by Julie Kagawa, and this book was really good. Again, this is a classic case of how I am with audiobooks. I'm going to be doing a video on this soon, but I used to hate audiobooks, but now I really love audiobooks, and I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed this story as much as I did if I didn't listen to it on audiobook, because audiobook just adds like a special something to it. Anyway, so Talon basically follows a girl named Ember, and it also follows her brother Dante, and they are dragons, and basically in this world there's a secret society of dragons that's part of Talon, and they are this organization of dragons, but they can also shapeshift into humans, but their true forms are dragons. And so basically Ember and Dante are sent to a California beach town, and they have to blend into society, and they are human and everything. And we also follow the perspective of a rogue dragon, which is basically a dragon who ran away from Talon, the organization, and Talon doesn't like when people do that, so they're like hunting him down and everything. Anyway, it was awesome. I loved the world. The characters were slightly annoying, and there is a love triangle in this book, so if you hate love triangles, I probably wouldn't go with this book, but the love triangle is very prominent. I thought that it was fine. I was slightly annoyed with it, but you know what, that's alright. Anyway, so I really enjoyed this book. It was a surprise that I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to like it, but I'll definitely be picking up the next books in this series because the world is just fascinating, and I'm really loving where this series is going. The next book that I finished was Ivory and Phone by Julie Eschbaugh, and I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. And I thought this was boring. This is an arc. It came out in June. It is pitched as a historic fantasy with allusions to Pride and Prejudice. Now, that sounds really cool, except like a prehistoric young adult novel. That was amazing. I picked it up because it sounded really, really awesome and cool. But if you think back to what people did in the prehistoric era, like, they don't really do much. And this might be a faithful prehistoric book, but it was just boring. I didn't find any of it intriguing. I didn't like the characters. I thought that it was just dry. I just didn't like it. And I don't think that's the fault of the author. I just think it's the time period, because if you think about it, all they do is hunt. They hunt and they sleep and they like eat. That's what they do. That's their existence. And that's basically what this book is about. So I don't know, I just thought it was boring. I thought it was a good try. As far as the Pride and Prejudice illusions go, I could see it. I could see the Pride and Prejudice things, and I really liked that about it. But overall, didn't really enjoy the characters. I'm not going to be reading anything else in the series. Overall, very boring. I had to force myself to finish it. The next book I have is one of my favorites of the year so far, and that is The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chachki. And this is a story, alright? I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I realize now that I haven't been saying what ratings I have, but they'll be down here, just by the way. So this book was my book club book for the month of July. And I was really, really excited to get into it because it sounded awesome and it was getting wonderful reviews. And I started it and I hated it. I started it and I was so confused. The number one word I came up with for this book is confused. I didn't understand anything that was happening about it. Before I get into more thoughts, basically this book is about this girl named Maya, and her horoscope is cursed, and basically it just follows her journey, and I don't really want to say more than that because it's an interesting read. It's unlike anything I've ever read because the beginning makes absolutely no sense and you keep going. And this book is split into 2 parts, and the first part was so confusing, it didn't make any sense. There was all this supernatural, weird, freaky things that were happening and none of it was explained. But then part 2 happens. Part 2 happens, and part 2, everything comes together, and it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had when reading. I know that seems extreme, but I was so confused. Like, I was considering it DNFing this book because I just didn't understand, and I'm one of those people who really wants to understand what's happening, but I just could not figure it out, and it was making me really angry, and I couldn't relate to anyone because I had no idea what's happening. And then part 2, everything is explained and everything starts making sense, and we are going. We are going, and it's amazing and it doesn't stop, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And so I take back everything that I said about it being confusing. I applaud Roshani Chachki for writing it this way because I feel like any other way this book might not have been as impactful on me. I loved it so much. This has a very prominent romance in it, and the romance is amazing. One thing I did like about part 1 is that I fell instantly in love with this character, and it was very insta-lovey at the beginning of the book, but like I said, all that is explained in the next one, and it's fantastical and wonderful. The only critique I have about this book is that I'm sort of confused still a little bit about like how the powers work, but you know, if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. But there's actually going to be a companion book to this series. It's not going to be a direct sequel because this book pretty much wrapped up, but it is going to be a companion following Maya's little sister, and I'm so excited for this. Anyway, again, one of my favorite books of the year. I know I talked about this for a really long time and I apologize. I just had so many feelings that I wanted to get out. Anyway, highly recommend, loved it. And if you're reading this and you don't want to finish it, please finish it because it's fantastic. I loved it. What's the horse's name? And if you've read this book, can we please take a moment to talk about the horse Kamala? She's my favorite character. I mean, who else would be your favorite character other than that horse? If you don't know what I'm talking about, read the book. And now we get into the books that I read for Booktubeathon. I'm not going to go into summaries for these books because I already did that in my Booktubeathon wrap-up linked down in the doobly-doo. So I'm just going to go quickly through just like what I read for the readathon so that you'll know, but if you want to hear thoughts about them, link down below. First book I read was More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. Love this book, one of my favorites of the year. Then I read the first 3 books of the series Unfortunate Events books, The Bad Beginning, The Reptile Room, and The Wide Window. Then I read Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys, or Sepetys. I will never say her name right, I can guarantee it. And then finally I read The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. And that was Booktubeathon, and I've actually read one more book that was after Booktubeathon. That is another one of my favorites of this year. Wow, I have like 3 favorite books of the year in this month. I completely forgot that this month was wonderful as far as reading goes. But that is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. If you watched, I don't even know what video it's in, but when I hauled this book, I was so excited because my book club leader actually got it signed for me. And if you guys don't know, Everything is one of my favorite books ever, which is her debut novel that she wrote. And this book was everything I ever wanted, ever. Nicola Yoon is now officially my favorite author of all time. I love her so much. This story basically follows these 2 people, Natasha and Daniel, and they meet unexpectedly one day in New York. And Daniel is Asian and Natasha is a Jamaican about to be deported out of the country. The diversity in this book is amazing. It like blew me away how diverse these characters were. Anyway, so they meet for like 12 hours, 14 hours, something like that in New York, and they fall in love, and it's literally the best thing ever. This book had me running around my room. I was singing. When I finished this book, it made me want to go onto my roof and start and just burst into song. I loved it so much. The romance is adorable. Everything about this book was amazing. I love the setting, I love the diversity, I loved being in New York. I just loved everything, and this book just made me so happy. And I just love that Nicola Yoon, she has this way of writing to where she makes you really happy for a romance, and then she tears it down and breaks your heart, and then she leaves you with just enough hope that it just makes you really happy. And the end of this book just made my heart soar. And anyway, so this book comes out in November 2016. Please pick it up when it comes out. It is wonderful. Nicola Yoon is lovely. I actually met her at a signing. I love her. I love this book. Oh, I know this wrap-up's probably going to be really long because I'm fangirling about all these books, but this one was so amazing. Oh my god. So there you have it. Those are all the books that I completed in July. I had a bunch of really good ones. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, and comment down below if you've read any of these books. What was your favorite book that you read in July? Anything that you want to talk about? And subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. And also I have my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram linked down below. I got an Instagram, guys. I probably should have put this at the beginning of the video, but we'll say it now. If you're still watching, I have an Instagram that is going to be linked down below. If you guys want to go follow me, I'm at MidnightReads99. Go follow me on Instagram. We can be friends. It'll be a lovely time. Anyway, there you have it, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!